Okay. Good. All right. Go ahead and call 7 o'clock according to what I have here. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. All the members are present tonight, I do believe. All right. I'll lead us in a quick word of prayer. Most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you thanking you for the many blessings that you bestowed upon us. We just ask that you be with us tonight, that we make decisions that are pleasing to you. We just ask that you be with the family that lost their trailer this evening in the fire, and be with the firemen as they continue to work on the scene. We come to you once again just thanking you for the many blessings. In your great and heavenly name we pray, amen. Go ahead. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Any papers? Roll call, all members are present. Approval of minutes from the meeting in November.
Make a motion to approve November 18 minutes.
Second. Have a motion and second to approve the minutes from the meeting in November. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed and approved. Approval of financial statement for November.
Make a motion to approve November financial statement.
Second. I have a motion and second to approve the November financial statement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed and approved. Council, if you will indulge, we're going to move up the agenda a little bit. We have a proclamation here honoring Red Sisson, who was a mayor, and we've had this loss, and I wanted to read this proclamation, if it's okay. We'll move that up on the agenda. All right. Proclamation. Whereas it is with sadness that I formally announce the passing of former Mayor Red Sisson, the 11th Mayor of the City of Vilonia, on Thursday, December 4th. And whereas Mayor Sisson served the city as mayor in 1999 and 2000, during which time he worked to improve and grow the city with the intent to unify the city and its residents. And whereas it is fitting and proper we pause to pay tribute to a man who gave of himself to serve his community. May we honor his memory with admiration and respect. Now therefore, I, Preston Struggle, Mayor of the City of Vilonia, by the authority vested in me, pay tribute to the memory of Mayor Sisson, and as an expression of public sorrow, do hereby proclaim a time of mourning and a time of celebration throughout the City of Vilonia in recognition of the loss and the life of Olin Dale Red Sisson. I further declare Wednesday, December 17th, 2025 to be a day of remembrance in Vilonia. I encourage all residents to pay homage to the memory of this fine man. In witness, I have here to set my hand the 16th day of December in the year of our Lord, 2025. We appreciate y'all coming out. Red meant the world to me. It was ironic that I got to have a conversation with him in the parking lot of the Senior Citizen Center about 4 or 5 days before his passing. And a lot of people don't know, and you were here, James, and he was instrumental in getting the Senior Citizen Center built. And I could always lean on him for help. When we were building the fire station way back in the day, I didn't claim to know everything about building the building, and he would come help. And we had a lot of history. He lived on the farm that I farm now. A lot of people didn't know, and he'd sneak by. I mean, Bobby didn't know, and I could always see him in his red truck. But he's done a lot of things for this town and was linchpin in this town's growth, and we wanted to honor him, and we have a copy of this proclamation. Would it be fitting, you think, for the council to have a picture with the family?
Okay.
All right, think so? If they would like it. If they would so choose, and we have this copy for you.
You're like the only one I can see about it.
We'll get out here. He meant the world to all of us. He really did. All, they're all into. Get right, here, you get right here beside.
No, you go on in the middle here.
There you go. We've got a crew.
You know what you're doing?
Keep my day job.
Okay.
You're like that commercial.
Thank y'all, thank y'all. We wanted your dad, he really meant the world to this.
Yes, sir.
He lined you out.
Watch your step, I appreciate y'all a lot. Yes, sir.
Break it in. You're only 39, I don't know what you're talking about.
Council members, thank y'all for, family, thank y'all again. Y'all need anything, y'all let us know. Reports of city departments, fire department, they're out on fire. They had a trailer fire, I think it was at 167 South Church. Luckily, everybody was out. I think they lost a small family pet.
And we were able to save some possessions for them, so.
I know, Jimmy, they still had some building permits, so it's been brisk. As evidenced by some of the stuff that's been going on. All right, Planning Commission is not meeting this month. They did meet last month. They did preliminary approve the plats for the 2 subdivisions that I briefed y'all on during the last meeting. The engineers are still working out some of the details, but from what I've seen and what I've heard from the engineers, it looks pretty good. So that's about 269, about 370 houses. So over the next 3 years. And I don't, like I said, I don't know of anything they're not meeting. I don't know of anything right now that they're working on. It always kind of slows up around Christmas and the New Year. Police department.
Not a whole lot to report, still have an opening, and just trying to keep vehicles going. Got one in the shop still for the decorator last month. Just doing maintenance on them. So sometimes it's good to be down a guy so you can have something to ride in. So. That's about
Chief,
it.
could I ask you a question? On the position we have open, did we lose an officer or?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Sewer department.
As far as I know, everything's flowing downhill.
That's my understanding. I think,
Really good.
yeah, it seems to be. They're getting more customers on a daily basis.
Yes, sir.
Street department, cold weather's they've kind of been throttled back a little bit. They've been doing a little bit of, still doing some ditching. We're trying to find all the old culverts that were tin and trying to eliminate those if we can, concrete or plastic.
I did see Glenn out earlier today. He was out looking for stuff to cold patch. So
Yeah.
we got cold patching just in case you see him on the side of the road, fixing potholes.
Hopefully, the dry weather will be very advantageous. I hope we don't have a cold freezing event. That's never, that's never good.
Had one this past week.
Yeah, luckily it was dry. Park and Rec, not a lot there. We are gonna look at interviewing and looking at some potential people to be a director, but nothing just plumb firmed up yet. No public comment. On the mayor's notes, no December meeting for the planning commission, and City Hall will be closed the 24th, 25th, and 26th for Christmas. keep on. All right, department recognition by Council Bean, and I want to take a minute to thank Ms. Bean Lacosta for stepping up on the senior citizens. And I know there's been others that, and I know you get in trouble when you single out people, but she has definitely stepped up and been a blessing to me, because I've just had too much going on with family and everything else. And to fill that void and to do what you've done, we're very grateful, Ms. Lacosta.
Thank you. Obviously, I can't do it all myself, so I have to brag on Amanda Scroggins. She has been there every single day to cook, or not to cook, but to serve the food, to wash the dishes. She's the last one to leave every day, so I certainly couldn't do it without her. And then, of course, Maddie that works for me, she's been my scheduler, so if you've got a call from her, that's why. So I do appreciate being able to do it, and it's been fun, but I certainly couldn't do it myself. Honor recognition, Miss Nail served in a great role at the Senior Center for 21 years, and tomorrow we're going to have a little reception for her and just celebrate the fact that she dedicated 21 years of her life to that, and now she's getting to enjoy it as one of the seniors versus one of the workers. So
That badge on that is.
What time is that at?
at 11:30 tomorrow.
All right, DC,
Nothing right now.
Chamber of Commerce, I know that we've had a lot of sorrow in our community. Ms. Brenda Fox passed away, who was the founder of the PBS Foundation and was a sister to Miss Jackie, so I'm sure that's where the family is tonight, is at that. So that's where I don't know anything really the chamber had right now at this time. Home business, ordinance 2025 PDO-4 care facilities.
Mayor, could I bring, talk about something in just a second?
Yeah.
Under old business. Remember at the November meeting, Ms. Sarah Spradlin came, public comment, and had addressed the council about, concern about, access to get across Highway 64 Main Street through Vilonia. So we formed a committee. It's Councilman Matos, Councilman Zippel, and Councilman Maxwell and myself. So I had an opportunity to talk with some folks from the Highway Department, Greg Nations, and also Andrew Warren. And we didn't get a hard no from them, so they were helpful, and Eris gave me some good ideas. I know we're going to end up having to talk to our District 8 people here, but one of the things they said that we need to do is get a formal request together, what we'd like to do. We met with Trey Foster for just a few minutes here a couple weeks ago. Trey's had a lot of experience with those crossings, and he was a big help, made some good suggestions. So what we're going to look at doing, we've identified one potential crossing that would be kind of a central located place to start. There's going to have to be some connectivity on the sidewalks on the north side of 64. Once we get across 64, where we're looking at is possibly on Church Street. Once you get across in with the sidewalks, you've got access all the way up to the school. You've got the drugstores, you've got the shopping center, you've got access to the post office, and go another way, you've got Harps and even to the dollar store. So that's a good place to start, and we're going to look at meeting. We're going to get together, the committee's going to get together right after the first, and we're going to have possibly a proposal or something to bring to the council for discussion, and let everybody look at what we're thinking, and we'll have something to discuss.
And if you need that on letterhead, just get it to us when you're ready to push your request out to our side.
Okay.
And you reminded me of something, and I apologize. We did have some meetings scheduled. Of course, you know, we've continually been searching for revenue on the connector here. And we are going to have a meeting with the Metro Plan and the county judge. Continue to push on that.
Okay.
So I had a meeting with Trey about that too. That's what made me think.
Okay.
All right. Ordinance 2025 PDO-4 care facilities. I know y'all just tabled this at the last meeting, and we looked at a work session, help me here. Stephen has, been researching it and asked if we could, have our city attorney here. He's
So-
here tonight.
Before we get to reading, I guess I'll make a motion to open up for discussion.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and second to open up discussion on proposed ordinance 2025 PD04. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. None opposed, we're ready to roll. Continue.
So, you know, we had concerns last month over this. I've kind of called our city attorney, kind of filled him in on some of those and stuff, and asked if he'd be here so that way y'all could directly ask some of those concerns or questions and see what we think on this ordinance, if we want to pursue it or not. And I'll open up to anybody for questions or concerns.
So some of the concerns last time were,
Let's make sure that mic's on.
Sure,
I'll hop up.
Mike, did you?
We do, I know I do have it, but just a question. So yeah, the main question is, that this, I think this is a great step in the right direction, so to make that statement first. The biggest thing is that it makes these, facilities conditional use, but it doesn't place any conditions. It doesn't actually state what those conditions are. It kind of leaves it open for, at the discretion of the planning commission or the city council. The problem with that I've heard from, a couple citizens in the community is that with that being open-ended, are we opening the door for discrimination because one facility gets placed in one subdivision with one set of rules, 4 or 5 years later with a new council and or a new planning commission, there's another set of rules. So, it was just a suggestion that we actually stipulate in there what those rules are. So that was my main thing. The only other thing, I was suggesting to the council that, the foster care that we just said this ordinance does not apply to single-family dwellings in which the owner or lessee provides sanctioned foster care, and put a period there and let the state police on the number, so we're not interfering with that. That was just a suggestion of mine. But the main concern was the leaving it too open-ended.
Sure, that's valid. I have a sheet of notes that I'll go over, and I'm gonna reintroduce myself. I'm Dustin Chapman. Good to see you all again. I mentioned to the mayor, I think I have not been here for a council meeting since last December, so I'm up on my year anniversary of being appointed as city attorney. And I have tried to keep up with council meetings, monitoring on you do a wonderful job of having everything on video, and I can at least, if I watch it or I can listen to it when I'm driving. So I've paid attention and tried to answer things remotely as I can. And I did watch the last meeting, and I made some notes. It's been a few days since I made some notes on it, but I'll try to answer that question and a few others. There was a lot of talk about, well, if the way this is written, there's several loopholes. And that's always an issue when you have an ordinance. You do the best you can, and you try to close up those loopholes, and then if you find it needs to be amended down the line, you always have an opportunity to do that. The note I made about that is you don't want perfection to be the enemy of good. You at least start with something that's good, that works, even if it's not perfect, and then you're always sort of trying to put out. People are always creative with finding ways to kind of work around what you set up, and that's just always a challenge. But in my conversations with Mr. Craig about this, that's where I just received the draft of it, and he asked me to mock it up, make some notes about it, make sure everything is legal, or what might be a good idea, or ways to improve it. So we talked about that, and how the problem this is in Vilonia or in the world as a whole is great, but I do believe in several towns there have been people that have a business model out of running very small environment care facilities unregulated out of residential homes. And again, reasonable people can argue about how harmful that is or how dangerous that is or whatever, but I do believe it happens. It happens a lot under the radar. We don't want to have a situation where you're creating regulations just for the sake of regulations. But anytime you have a home business, there's always kind of that discussion of most things that, you know, some home businesses, fine. Let's not worry a whole lot about home businesses. If you had say, when I was a kid, I took piano lessons out of somebody's home. Not a very big deal. If you were a CPA and you're preparing taxes online and doing things like that out of the home, probably not a big deal. But you have additional concerns what if a veterinarian tried to set up a business out of their house? What if a restaurant or a place that has a lot of traffic coming and going, or do they need signage, or is it going to create odors or nuisance in the neighborhood? Then you do have new concerns that you didn't have before. I think there's a potential safety concern with seniors and people that need care being cared for in a home that is worthy of some discussion about some regulation. It's important to identify if that is a place that's going on, and then what concerns do they have. Just two that came to mind as I'm just thinking about it. If you have here in the winter, if you have a winter storm that knocks out power, we need the police, the fire department needs to know if there's a person, if there is a community of people in there that might have oxygen machines and they need, you know, special, you know, power getting to them and things like that. Tornado, you know, if anytime you have vulnerable people, especially with heightened vulnerabilities living under the same roof, law enforcement needs to know that they're there. Not that it's a bad thing or that it's nefarious or criminal activity. It's just they need to know they're there for public safety. Also, when you have a regulation and you have people that are sort of behaving and they're existing in an underground, you know, they're trying to conceal what they're doing in there, that creates all sorts of problems. Communities see that with, I want to open this up, but when you have families that are undocumented, for example, there's the fear that if they use police, if they use ambulance, the fire, if we have to call 911 for any reason, then what? Then our family has to go somewhere. So if you have vulnerable people that are in a space and they live every day under the fear that if for example, if they felt like they were abused and they had to call for help, if they were getting something stolen from them, if they're having a fight with some, you know, a co-patient or something like that, and they needed to call 911, they may be afraid to do that because that 911 call is going to lead to this whole operation being shut down and everybody being forced to leave. So it's just not a good thing to be to live day to day hiding from them. So if you are going to regulate it, it's just important to have some common sense ways to comply with it. It's not too burdensome. Mr. Mato mentioned about what conditions there could be. That's hard to write down, and I think they're not necessarily written down in there because every situation is going to be different. It's going to be applicant by applicant. Planning Commission would have an opportunity to interview whoever the applicant is and what their plans are. They need to ask them, how many beds are we talking about? Is that a hard limit? Are you going to cap it at X number of beds? Or, what is the space? What is the neighborhood? Are there, if you have a public hearing, what do the neighbors, if you give them a chance to come have comments about it, what do the comments say? When I talked to Mr. Craig about this, we said that there may be neighborhoods where something like this would be perfect. So it's not the idea that we're going to run these out of town. I think you can have a door available, a process available for this, because there may be some neighborhoods where this would just be perfect to go. Everybody can imagine, that's the classic home care environment is if you have a parent or grandparent or somebody, they don't want to go to you know, they don't want to go to that large nursing home that we think about in our minds. They want to stay where they're comfortable in their home. They want to stay in their own home. And then, you know, my understanding of these is that, well, it may not be their home, but it is a home environment. And it's more efficient to have the same caregiver take care of 3, 4, maybe 5, 6 different patients at the same time. So it just forces of the economy make it more efficient for that to take place in a smaller setting, but not necessarily that person's own home. So I get that, but that's the traditional home care, is that a nurse would come to your home. And certainly that would never need to be regulated if it's a person's own home, but I think you do have some special common sense rules that are in place. If you're sibling 4, 5, 6 or more, but the planning commission has who's doing the application. What does their background look like? What do they have training? Who do they answer to? Are they being regulated by any number of alphabet agencies and things like that? And it's been my experience with other cities. They want the regulation. They want to be able to say, we have complied with our city's rules on this, because that opens the door for them to get funding and meals and all sorts of things to the people from the people they have to answer to. And that's one of the first things that might get them shut down with their own licensure is if they're not in compliance with their city. So the regulation, again, it's not just for the sake of regulation, but an operator of this I would think, want to be in compliance with whatever common sense rules you all want to come up with. So this was the draft that we came up with. I understand it hasn't even been placed on first reading. The one section about foster care, sure, I mean, that makes sense. It says home foster care. I would propose just where it says, or lessee provides sanctioned foster care. Again, Mr. Meadows just put a period there, or put sanctioned foster care under the supervision of Arkansas Department of Human
I
Services.
think that would be more appropriate.
Yeah, a person could just call themselves a foster, you know, but I think if they're under the supervision of the Department of Human Services would be.
And I don't think anybody up here is opposed to the ordinance. But like if you watched that last month, the people that are inclined to do this are flying under the radar, so to speak, where they're not even having to have any state agency license. And so my question is how do we enforce this? For instance, the folks that testified or came and talked to us last month, they stated that pretty much they're landlords. So we're asking them to have a business license, but then we have other landlords in town that don't have that. You see what I'm trying to say? So how do we
In theory, you could require all landlords to have a landlord license.
And
I would not. I would. That's at your own peril to do that.
And do you do that for each house that landlord owns, if they own 200 homes?
Our larger cities, Little Rock, Fayetteville, I know Little Rock and Fayetteville require a landlord license. I mean, that's.
You know, a little bit of background to us, just for, you know, why this come up is really was at the staff and our request. You were right. This is getting to be a trend. In the space of about 4 months, we've had St. Francis was the in the home for trophy. Um, uh, then we had wait, because it was, I think it's a year or something.
And I would, I'm not in that area. So I wouldn't suggest that would be, when I hear the word multifamily, I'm thinking of how the house is constructed. In other words, if you have, say, if you have two college buddies go in and rent a house, that's still a single family house. I mean, even though they're not family members, you have a traditional single family is just, that's a home with some bedrooms and bathrooms and a kitchen. But then compare that duplex where there's a brick, a solid wall in between, and these families may not ever know.
So, reading through that, you talk about the number. The only place I see a number is in transitional or foster care. And yes, I'm the one that wrote this, but I stole a lot of it out of the Metro Plan's UDO, right? Because we talked about transitions. So like when you look at the nursing home, I don't see anything that says a number. Would it be better to even add in there under the first line where it says 39 and 40 of adding a facility which houses multiple non-familiar residents? And that way it cuts away from, if I'm trying to take care of my grandma and my wife's trying to bring her mom into the house, we're still a family, but we don't fall under that nursing home. Because I don't want to limit a family from taking care of their siblings.
Well, nursing home,
That's
it says multiple residents,
Yeah.
just says, I guess that would be two.
Yeah.
And that says multiple residents.
Or group home or daycare, like it doesn't,
Group homes the same, yeah, and I'll stand to be corrected on that. I was looking at the 5 for the transitional temporary.
And that's, that is, we see that a lot in the criminal, with people leaving prison and they call it the halfway house, that's what transitional, yeah. Which is also a very real thing.
Police and people that are, was that, inmates placed on custodial confinement. How do you handle it?
Well, I'd want to know about it if it was in my
Well,
neighborhood.
that's what I see, that, the people that talk to me about this is their concern.
But again,
It's in a residential area.
so again, it's all conditional use. And my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have to approve a conditional use. We feel like it doesn't fit that neighborhood or
You're
that
not,
area.
you're not saying yes to it, you're not saying no to it,
Saying it doesn't fit this.
you're building a locked door there. And to open that door, the key is your planning commission, I guess. And the planning commission can give that key to, again, that is a very valid concern, is what conditions are there gonna be. But I think because every address is gonna be different and every application is gonna be different, you'd have a very long list of how to do that. But that's why you trust your planning commissioners to ask, who is it that's applying? What is their business plan? Where is it gonna be? What do the neighbors say about it? Same as,
But by leaving it open-ended, aren't we opening the door for them to be completely excluded from the community altogether? That's what you to say that's our consensus.
Well,
it's not hard to think of some criteria is,
you run into restrictions and covenants which have to be enforced by the majority of the landowners unless you've got a property owners association, which this new subdivision Hill Farm is a POA. So that automatically excludes them. I've had a lot of people, this has come to me, I've talked to a lot of people on this, and they're upset that they thought when they bought, I'm just gonna tell you what they're saying, they bought a subdivision, and they expect to be in a subdivision, and.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, and the planning commission is a key, but you're gonna have to give them some guidance.
If,
They're not as tough and shellac as y'all
They're
are.
gonna be referring it back to us.
Yeah.
What they're gonna do.
Yeah.
could you, if you're gonna put some criteria, like we talked about last month, of like having a fenced-in property around the backyard. And I believe DHS requires that if you care for children and stuff like that, you're gonna have fenced-in area. If you put in certain things like that, could you put in a lot size that says it has to be a 1 acre lot or larger? And that would limit a lot of the subdivisions from that problem then?
I think so. I'm gonna sketch out some notes.
Or a 3/4 acre lot, something that would put a size that just automatically says, you don't meet that criteria, sorry.
And there's one other thing that, if we're looking at drafting this, because it says nursing home and assisted living facility, the language, because folks are saying, I don't have a nursing home or living, I'm just renting rooms out to John and Harry and Jane.
Well,
And so then they don't even show up at the planning commission and they argue that point. Because that's where we're at right now, because there's already an ordinance that you have to have a business license in this town.
my understanding on that though is too, that's the courts to decide. Am I correct on that? Like, if we believe they're violating the ordinance, we send code enforcement or our police officers to go cite them for it. And then they can discuss that with the judge, correct?
I was about to say something along those lines, is when we have other types of problem, say property maintenance. I had a jury trial once of noise complaints. A place was having just loud parties every weekend about that. And you saw a lot of that, everybody doing this. The owner said, well, I'm not the one playing the music, and then the person playing the music said, well, I'm not the owner. So we just went after everybody. We as many people on paper as we could. And then, let the judge sort that out is who's guilty and who's not. I mean, if you are trying to sort of mask behind that to say, well, I'm not really guilty, I'm just the property owner, well, I mean, that doesn't pass my
That's
smell
what we're
test.
hearing over
Yeah,
here.
and I don't think the judge would think that was very clever either, but I mean, I think in theory, if it was either asking for an injunction or a citation, anybody that has maybe some kind of shared culpability on that.
I mean, in essence, what we're doing is we're setting a law that says if you have a facility which houses multiple residents, it's a nursing home or living.
Yeah, and then the landlord and if the operator they consider about who's doing that.
Yeah.
But that does not, I don't lose a lot of sleep about that.
Okay.
I am making some notes about this and planning commission want to base a yes or no decision on. I don't think we have to reinvent the wheel because this is, it is common. And the same criteria is any number of things that you have a conditional use permit for. Greenbrier, we have a conditional use for a tattoo parlor, for example. Doesn't mean the tattoo parlor can't be anywhere in the city, but there's a criteria of where it can be. Is it near church? Is it, what are the hours of,
Which we do have that like telephone antennas, you put that up, I think, there's certain criteria to have a
So,
power.
and
Same
it's,
thing with mobile homes.
Yeah, and mobile homes.
it's more than just, we just don't like the cut of the jib of this thing. I mean, every category that you have a conditional use for has gotta have some.
I think you're on the right track, getting this, some guidance, some, criteria.
So lot size is a good example. I think congruent with the neighborhood in terms of, is any construction needed?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, if I own 2 acres on Main Street where there's businesses up and down that road and I'm residential.
Is the road sufficient for that?
You can't house more than the building is designed to hold.
Is it, what is the space of it? Can you get emergency vehicles in and out? Are the people that living there, do they have their own vehicles? I mean, are you gonna have a place that has 10 residents and each of them have 10 vehicles and they have families coming and going? I mean, that could get out of hand very
That falls in
quickly.
other ordinances though. We have rules on those.
But we're
So-
gonna have to have some simple guidance.
Hard to have any rule that fits every application that's gonna come through, because they're all gonna be different sizes, and they'll have different applicants, and they'll have different backgrounds and different purposes, and
There needs to be some basic guidelines, I think, so people can look at that and say, this is what we need to do.
One of the other things that I've had some folks ask me is, these nursing homes or whatever you call them, are properties allowed to say no, or somebody wants to put a muffler shop in down the street.
Which I do know our ordinance says in-home occupancy, like home occupancy businesses is only 0.25% of the allowed, only 0.25% of the footprint of the property or the house, including the garage space.
and I don't have Vilonia memorized,
Yeah.
but in my other cities, it's usually something like that. It's the size of it. Is it obvious from the street that that's what's going on? Do they have to have a sign out there? Are they having like foot traffic?
But maybe they want to run it out of their garage, so why not?
I've had those fights with people. I've had
Yeah, converted garage into a
handyman service.
It's already permitted
Yeah.
in Vilonia.
Well, I had one try to put a sawmill in the backyard, and I'm like, that's a
Well,
no-brainer.
I remember years ago in a different town,
I'm
we
serious.
had a knockout fight about handyman service. When it came out that he had a few vehicles that had his label on it, but all the work was being done at their houses, at other people's houses, and all he was really doing was keeping his tools there and sleeping, and so did that make that a business or not? And they said, well, he's got a big shop in the back. Well, a lot of people have shops in the back. So, I mean, you really had to look at it case by case as to, is this home the site of the business, or is that just where the business owner lives? And
Well, you alluded to too, each subdivision's unique.
I think we definitely need some clarity and some definition, because one of the things is we're getting, accurate information, such as last time we talked about who else we were person on the house. Well, in looking, actually what they do on the house. So they're using those things. One lady said, I don't have a business. Well, she has an LLC
at that address.
at that address. So we're getting false information simply to keep from having to go to the planning commission. So we need some definitions that, they have to come to the planning commission and they are a business.
Phone calls I get and everything, I've had that.
Well,
They were very deceitful last time they were here, and checking the information, they did not give us correct information at all.
Not only that group, but some of the other ones.
I think that's where we're all at. I think we're for this. I think I just want to make sure we can enforce it once it's passed.
Before you pass it, and so that's the problem right now, is if you have no law, then you can't accuse them of breaking the law that doesn't exist.
Now,
But you also don't want to get stuck in the weeds of how are we gonna enforce this one particular case and make your whole rule about that. I mean,
Another concern I know we've had is if, say, we do make these suggestions, we're going to have a lot size change the age, it's ones that are previously before the ordinance was passed.
I think so. I think so because day-to-day issue. Is this particular situation in violation or not in violation? You don't have to trouble yourselves with that, but it's important to be smart about it. You don't want to leave gaping loopholes just for someone to fall through.
And there's a lot of interest in this. I would rather not see an emergency clause. I think it ought to be read publicly 3 times.
I mean, we would vote on that separate.
Yeah.
I think you read it 3 times. I mean, we're there, that maybe we got, get his
The
suggestion.
emergency clause wouldn't do away with the 3 readings. It would just make it go into effect immediately without the, I think it is 90 or 180 days.
Correct.
Yeah, the 90 days.
Yeah, so if we read it,
I
if
think
we read
it should be
it,
read publicly 3
Yeah.
times.
We would have to have a separate vote to
Because I
suspend.
think there's a lot of interest in it.
well,
There's a lot of interest.
we can still leave the emergency clause, like Mike's saying, in it, and still read it 3 times. That way you still go out 3 months, and then it goes into effect immediately after the 3
I
months.
think it definitely needs to be read so the community doesn't have any excuse to say they didn't hear it.
I'll give an opportunity to voice their opinion.
And people will have strong opinions about it because everybody has people in their family that they worry or that either care or might need care, you know, and if you're affecting, especially if you're affecting some of those business, they're going to come and swing. But with any sport, it's really great to think about what really is the problem here. I mean, if you have, say, if you had three patients in, you know, wonder if injury is that to the community, and if you have people that are calling and complaining about it, I would challenge that person to really put into words what it is they're concerned about it. You know, if that's going on in the neighborhood, explain what the, you know, what it is, the nuisance of just somebody, you know.
You don't have those calls.
And they, you know, and if they don't have a good answer for that, then that gives you a gauge as to, you know, how serious of a problem really is it.
I think these people are probably getting very good care, and with it being a small setting, they're probably getting the best care that they could possibly get versus being in a large nursing home. I think the problem is the safety of those people, because if the police or the fire don't know there's 3 or 4 people there, and like the example we were given, if 2 people show up on the fire truck and there's 5 people inside the house, that's a problem. So it's not necessarily that it's a bad thing or that it's even the business model is bad. It's just the fact of the safety.
The fire chief brought up to me that, and I didn't think about it. He brought it back.
In the early days, when we first started hearing about COVID-19, right, we didn't know how scary it was, you know, and the police chief showed me a map. There is a map of this dot, this dot, this dot. That's the person that's diagnosed with COVID. That's the person diagnosed with COVID. And that was a real tool that health department had, you know. And so if you just anytime you have especially vulnerable people, we need, not because we're nosy, not because we're trying to outlaw it. I mean, there's just legitimate reasons why we need to know that they're under that roof.
We do it in Conway for tornado shelters. You know, the fire department, we have a list of where all the tornado shelters are in the city that residents volunteer their info to us so we can know to search there.
We have some, you got some,
I've made a short list and I'll research more about what the criteria would look like for planning commission. I've written down lot sizes, congruent with the neighborhood, whether there's good access for emergency vehicles, whether or not this applicant is regulated by some other agency would be important, whether or they're just doing it in France.
And what about the bigger things into that? Because I can't limit somebody from taking care of their spouse's mother and my mother, and, you know, because we may fall in that, make sure that.
No harming, if a person has ownership interest in that property, you know,
My only concern with that would be coming with I can't tell you how many years that had no they look, sir, and you know, how to take care of that was you know, I want to use situation limit those.
I would be careful with the, just probably best to be table this indefinitely and just rewrite with your suggestions in it.
I'm happy to take notes. Yes,
Since we've got so many different suggestions, we may add some permanent clauses, we better just
because
rewrite.
it's impossible to have those things tonight. So I
Correct.
think that's the only option is to
it
table
needs
it.
to
But
be done right.
I don't know if there's other, if you're gonna open it up for other comments still, or we're ready to move on, but.
No, I'm just trying to figure out on, do we just need to kind of scrap this one as called a rough draft and let you rewrite a new one and present it as a new order?
Just some additions. I mean,
I think it's
what you have there is
I'm actually, yeah, so we can.
from that, does other agencies need to be notified of what they see there? You know, if it's, you know, just, everybody can just imagine a scary situation where seniors are just being neglected and everything like that.
We call adult protective services quite a bit in my line.
So Vilonia doesn't have the wherewithal to do those inspections, but they do have the wherewithal to look at the fire safety, and then anytime someone is on the premises, they can use their own eyes.
All right, so we're gonna table this.
So I could ask a question, if we table this, can you give us a timeline on when we'll have something back? Because we've already pushed this to the side. This will be 2 months, and then if we've got to read it 3 times and then wait for it to go into effect, can you give us a timeline on it? Because we're basically still 0 and we're 3 months in.
I'll have to try for the next meeting. I have something to say.
Okay.
The further make a motion table. HPO.
A motion second to table. The ordinance, in favor of,
Will you be able to be here that night in case we haven't?
I hate to say yes because I know that a different meeting would normally meet the night before. It's Martin Luther King Day on that Monday, and they'll move that to the Tuesday, so I may have to pick between two. I will if I can. But I don't think this is gonna be reinventing the wheel, because surely some other city has addressed this. Or you could take a different type of a business. In any other category that has a conditional use permit would have the same, similar criteria. Where is it, who's running it, what does the building look like, all that.
I mean, if you feel like we're on the right path, I think we are on the right path. I feel like we're on the right path as far as with whatever suggestion. I do think there needs to be some guidelines in there. I think we kind of all agree on that, but I don't think there'll be much to hash out. I mean, we might hash some stuff out, but I mean, I don't think anything real.
The pre-reading is that's all. That's your prerogative how fast you want to read it.
It's like business and everything. That's
In my head would
running
be,
through everything.
does this home have a 600-foot gravel driveway that a fire truck would need to be able to get to? If you had to put somebody on a gurney and get them into a Pafford ambulance, can they get to the door, or do they have to, I mean, those types of things. And again, you're not gonna be able to write that down on anything. I mean, that's just gonna be the common sense that your planning commissioner will have to look at. Let's see a photo of what this home is gonna look like, and what practical problems are you with.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thank you, Dustin.
Update on the senior center.
Yes, sir. So Mr. Casey Hawks, talked with me a couple of days ago, and Faulkner County Council on Aging is going to return around January the 15th. So we will continue to feed them and all the other activities until the 15th. They're definitely back. It's actually here. Right now, we're feeding about 30 to 40 people every day. And people make their at least now we have a date.
Acosta, thank you for all your work. It's been a blessing to me on that. Thank you.
It's been fun.
Your idea of fun is not on that.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to new business.
Sorry,
Resolution 2025.
We're having some technical issues. Could you repeat the date?
Repeat the date that they're going to return. Just to be around January 15th.
Double 007, adoption proposed budget for 2026.
Make a motion to read by title only.
Second.
All right, have a motion second, reading title only, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Cindy?
Resolution 2025 PDR 7, resolution providing for the adoption of the budget for the city of Vilonia, Arkansas for 12 months beginning January 1st, 2026 and ending December 31st, 2026. appropriating money for each and every item of expenditure therein provided for.
I have heard of reading a resolution 2025 PDR 07 by title only, adopting the proposed budget. Will the council?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion real quick.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, when we was looking at working on these fields, what, did I think it right out of your mouth? You wanna go for it? I talked too much as it is.
Like, I was gonna ask if we could increase, the proposed budget on the fields.
What we're gonna do is, we're not gonna go with that kind of, or too expensive. We're gonna use our street department.
Good.
And, so I don't think you'll have to worry about anything on that. I hope to have you a new director by the next meeting, if not sooner. And, we'll go forward with that. That was ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, that was the only thing I was gonna say, I was
Yeah.
thinking that ain't gonna work.
No.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
we're gonna, and so you'll know, Matt Rush, volunteered to do that on his own. He's been watching the meetings, and he had the same opinion I did.
And he's done them before, hasn't he? If I'm not mistaken, I think he's helped us.
And, so we're gonna do that in-house. Matt said,
Mass dependable.
Matt's good on dirt.
That's a wonderful idea. It saves us
Yeah,
money.
he's good with dirt. That kind of lay your figures on that. All right, I promise you, you'll be, Matt will be on. All right. Take
Are you gonna do votes on it?
resolution. I shouldn't have said that.
Reading ball fields?
Yeah. I don't know, I guess everything's went up. All right, you do have, wanted to make the public and the council, you do have a copy of the, 2024 audit report, questions or anything like that.
That's it.
The city's in good shape. I mean, we've not, we've lived within our means, which is a rare,
Right on the path, budget.
yeah, which is a rare day and age. So, all right.
We adjourn.